Project Zomboid is a game with a robust modding community. It seems like every day that brand spanking new mods drop. I sometimes peruse the game's workshop in search of interesting mods, and I ended up coming across a new one called the Hive Mind. Basically, all the zombies in an area, not sure the size of the area, but it seems to be pretty large, share a neural network. If one sees you, all other zombies around will begin to path towards your location. This sounded challenging, but interesting, so without much preparation, I jumped in head first. I wanted a quick character to check things out and see how the mod acts. Unfortunately, due to a zombie triggering a house alarm, I was spotted within the first in-game day, and the chase was on. I'm sure everyone here knows what it is like to have what seems like half the town on your ass, but with this mod, it may actually be half the town. It's not such a great feeling, let's just put it that way. The most bothersome part was seeing how many were coming from all directions. I started in Rosewood because the population there is more manageable, but that doesn't matter when every zombie around knows precisely where you are. The Hive Mind makes things intense, and on top of using it, I'm also running with the schizophrenia trait. Fighting zombies while using this mod is kind of useless. You'll never be able to outlast a horde like this. You will eventually get exhausted and tired, you won't be able to run, and eventually your mobility will slow down entirely. This is a situation best avoided, and it is easy to avoid when the zombies aren't sharing a neural network. But here in Hive Mind land, we are a bit fucked. As you can see, they will come flooding in from all directions once you've been spotted by a lone zombie. I recently dealt with a helicopter event using this mod.
Fuck! Alright. Mistakes were made.
Well, it wasn't pleasant. We'll put it that way. I acquired some weapons from the fire station, and though getting in there was risky, I knew I'd need those for later. Speaking of which, I did start with camping supplies because I had a feeling I'd have to flee town, so having a tent and campfire ready to go would be ideal. However, this was plan B. Plan A was something goofy. Remember I mentioned starting with a carpenter build? That ties directly into plan A. I recently saw a MatPat video where he answered a question regarding how long someone could survive in a grocery store during the apocalypse. Immediately, I got ideas. I knew it wouldn't be the most action-packed challenge, but I was interested to know how long you could live off the food items in one grocery store alone. I chose to be a carpenter so I could dismantle and fortify while gaining as much XP as possible. I figured it would be easy to skirt the zombies in town and get where I wanted to be. Once again, I underestimated Rosewood, especially now that my location was getting shared on Zombie Talk. I ended up hiding out in the fire station for a long while as I listened to the zombies bum rush every door and window on the building. I knew my only escape was jumping out the second-story window, a necessary risk. After realizing the zombies were banging on the room I was hiding in, I took a leap of faith and started heading towards the grocery store. Now, as you can imagine, things did not go to plan. Not at all. A large horde collected behind me and in front of me and all around me. As I casually strolled for my life down Rosewood's main strip, it took some clever maneuvering and a lot of luck, but I was able to shake some of the zombies by cutting through the church and slipping out the back. At this point, an alarm was going off, and there were a few zombies behind the church. Usually, I'd use the alarm to my advantage, but the Hive Mind makes many of the typical strategies useless. Isolating a zombie or two from a horde does nothing. Engaging with a few, then trying to find somewhere to take a break is harder to pull off than I thought. Zombies are going to be coming at you from all directions, so your best bet is getting inside of somewhere and giving them the old doop-de-doo. That's a technical term. One thing I don't think would be so bad to use with the Hive Mind is guns, however. All of them already can see you. You might as well go balls to the fucking wall. If you turn respawn off, gunning hordes down will clear towns a lot quicker. Of course, I am a gigantic baby who never uses guns, but if you're not afraid of guns, try them with this mod. Whenever I am in Rosewood, it always seems that I end up in these apartments above the strip mall. It makes sense. After all, apartment complexes are great places to get food and sometimes medical supplies. But with this mod, hiding out in a single building is not such a great idea. Now you may be thinking, but wasn't your plan to hide out in a grocery store? Yes. There's no explanation here, just yes, that was my plan, even knowing how dangerous and stupid it was. Moving on. As you can imagine, the apartment complex was compromised by the end of the day. These fucking zombies set off an alarm right beneath me, and as I sat there watching a television program that was surely drowned out by the sound of every door being beat on and every window being broken, I thought, wow, how can this get worse? At some point, I poked my head out the window and was immediately spotted. Now, zombies are pretty good at pathing towards you, no matter where you are, and with the Hive Mind, all it takes is one to spot you for things to spiral out of control. I was seen and had no choice. There was already a zombie banging on my apartment door, so I jumped out the window and headed to the grocery store. And you're gonna find jumping out windows and off fucking roofs is just something that, it was a pattern in this run, we'll just say that. The main strip was completely wrecked. Most windows and doors were broken. There were zombies wandering and hiding around every corner. I got to the Gigamart and thought I was maybe safe, but of course, the zombies weren't messing around. They happened to see me through the window and started letting themselves inside. Panicked and not thinking straight, I wound up on the roof. The situation was fucked up beyond belief, so once again, I jumped off. Like I said, it was a pattern in this run. I was tired, exhausted, in pain, bleeding out, and suffering what was to become terminal damage. The run was essentially over, but I couldn't accept it. I just kept thinking, if I could somehow shake this horde, I'd be okay. I'd be able to wrap my wounds and nurse myself back to health. But that didn't happen. I soon realized I wasn't going to get a second chance. And with hate in my heart, I decided I was going to take the whole town, or at least a few buildings, with me. We all know those final moments, when we sit there bleeding out, contemplating the mistakes that were made, thinking how things could have been different. If only I'd done this or that or the other thing. If only, if only, if only. We are in the final throes of life, listening to every zombie in town demolish the building around us. And so, I got my campfire ready. Hesitation almost cost me everything here, but at the last moment, I was able to prevail. The zombies were now weaponized as a moving torch, one I was going to use to reduce this strip mall to ash. And by the way, I don't know how I survived this, but somehow the massive zombies let me through, and I was able to escape the building. It didn't matter, however, because I was being pursued with an intensity I've never experienced before, not even in Louisville. Soon enough, flaming zombies rushed from the building. I did my best to run around the horde and keep them at bay, but eventually, survivor number 1, another incarnation of Michael Michelson, succumbed to the horde and the Nox infection. And as I watched the flames grow and the horde fan out, I had a pessimistic thought. How insignificant our small lives seem to be when put up against the reality of the world still moving at the moment of our deaths. Everything has ended for us, but not the world. Something about that got to me, and I began considering what the world would be like after my time. What impact would I leave? What would people remember me for? I can only hope something good. In a way, Michael should be remembered as a hero. After all, he sacrificed himself so a large portion of the zombie population in one town got wiped out, and no one would remember him. He was alone during these few miserable days, alone, tired, exhausted, wishing for the nightmare to end, and when it finally did end for him, his body reanimated as a flesh-eating monster. I've always wondered, how much of a zombie is still human? After your survivor turns, is there any part of them left in that body? In one of the radio programs in Zomboid, there is mention of the soul vacating the body, leaving behind a husk. And say the soul is real. Can it be trapped in a reanimated body? Surely not, but the thought of such a thing, well, it unsettled me. This made me think of the lore behind this game. Where did the Nox infection come from? Was it an experiment based on bringing the dead back to life gone wrong? A bioweapon? I'm sure there is a definitive answer out there, but not knowing for sure is one of the things I love about Project Zomboid. I truly enjoy how it takes you into intense combat situations only to follow them up with the quiet moments that induce existential thoughts and contemplations. And if you were to know the entire lore behind the game, I think you'd be cheated out of some of those thoughts and contemplations. I left the death screen on for a while, watching zombified Michael wander around until he burnt up to a crisp. The flames continued to burn through the night. Eventually, I decided to create another survivor to throw into Rosewood. I wanted to continue the challenge, but also assess the damage that had been done. She woke up in the gated community, not too far away from where the fires were very much still raging. The strip mall was a mess. Flaming zombies were still running about, and all the loot housed in that strip mall was slowly burning up. The horde didn't take long to grow, and within minutes, I had a flaming ball of zombies on my tail. I was able to get away using the church as an escape method once more. I made it to the grocery store and began the process of refrigerating and freezing perishables. I realized that there wasn't a bed here and I was going to be spending many nights sleeping on a chair. Not the best for a good night's sleep, but the apocalypse takes mercy on no one. All the windows and doors on the building were busted, and unlike Michael, Eve was a fitness instructor, not a carpenter. I built her for speed, which seems to be a good strategy for dealing with this mod, but dismantling things likely wouldn't yield as many materials as it would have for Michael. I had a lot of work to do, but was glad to have made it to my destination without a horde on my ass. If I continue this challenge, I might have to leave the grocery store one more time for a few more supplies, namely nails, a hammer, and a saw, before locking myself inside and finding out just how long I can live off the food while a hive-minded horde waits just outside the doors. As always, thanks for watching.